Hello there, this is the old gaming geezer. Welcome along to the final episode of the Indeterminate Stuff. Yes, indeed, we are bringing this show to an end with the imminent release of Kerbal Space Program, the complete version 1. We are bringing this show to a close. Now, what you're seeing here is a ship that's on its way out to the moon, funnily enough, to rescue Lemuel Kerbin, who's been stuck on the moon since he crash landed there all the way back in episode 9. So I've been very lazy. I haven't gone to get him, and now I have to, because I have to bring everybody home. It's just the way that it's just the way that I work. I have to bring all my boys home. And this is a fairly simple rocket. It's using a KW rocketry engine. I can't remember which one it is, but that's okay. And now we've switched to our little poodle engine to bring this ship into orbit. Yes, indeed. Out to the moon we will be going. This is a nice little ship, nothing really fancy about it. It's got a probe core which is driving it. There is nobody on board this ship right now. And I'm hoping that it's going to be a very simple little transfer. Because remembering after the last episode, all of our disasters, this time in our final episode, we're going to play it safe, because I've said it before, and I'm going to quote it one more time. This is a quote from Blackadder. "We are not at home to Mr. Cockup." So today we will be doing everything by the book, and here is our rescue ship approaching the moon now, and it's going to get itself into a nice little orbit, and it's going to land down on the moon. But where's it going to land? It's a long way down. We need to pinpoint exactly where Lemuel Kerbin is. Luckily, back months ago when he did land, he sent a message. "Help! I'm at the East Crater. Bring snacks." I don't know if this ship has any snacks in it, but hopefully it's got enough things to get Lemuel Kerbin home. Maybe it's got some snacks. Who knows? These are details that I don't need to know. Details, man. I'm a big picture guy. I don't need to know details like snacks. No siree. So we get this ship down. It's extending its landing gear, coming down for a nice, soft touchdown on the surface of the moon. Look at that. It's beautiful. And we're down. Excellent. So we landed only a couple hundred meters away from Lemuel Kerbin, so we are going to get him to come out and come over. And we're going to do this at high speed, because we don't really need to see him jetting across the lunar landscape as he makes his way to his rescue ship. He did, of course, remember to pick up the science, what little science he had gathered on the surface of the moon in the East Crater, and he gets back on, and he prepares to return home. I think he's been on the moon for 9 years, Kerbal years. Or is it because he was on episode 9? That was early in the game. I think he's been on the moon for 8 or 9 years. Because the game, it's been 10 years in-game going. And he was there since the early days. So here he is. He's now getting up into a lunar orbit. And he's going to do his ejection burn and drop himself down to the surface of Kerbin, and here he is, leaving the moon behind. It's been his home for a long time, but now he wants to return to the world of his birth, where the snacks are. Oh, those yummy snacks. And we fly in, and we turn around to get the back of the ship facing the air that's going to smack into us, and there it is. We are going to deploy our parachute as soon as we get out of this high heat zone. But we definitely did deploy our parachute. Shooting our engines just to make sure that we don't disintegrate as soon as we hit the water. We have a safe splashdown. Lemuel Kerbin is home. He's back. And he has a huge amount of ribbons, mostly for spending a huge amount of time in space and being on the moon and doing moonwalks and the like. Meanwhile, the far gone and out ship is returning back to Kerbin with Shepben Kerbin, Bilgan Kerbin, and Obzer Kerbin after being all the way out at the planet Eve, and here we are setting our close approach to Kerbin so we can aerobrake and doing a little burn to get us into the right altitude, because we need to come in hot, we need to come in hard, we need to come in low, because we're traveling very fast. By the time we hit Kerbin's atmosphere, we're going to be going about 5,000 meters per second, which is hella fast. I can't believe I just said hella. Weird. And so there we go, we're back. These guys have been away for a long time. They've been away for about, 7 or 8 years. And they're coming home now as they put away their solar panels, as they're sink down into the soupy atmosphere of Kerbin, and they're ionizing the atmosphere as their ship slams into the air, and they're slowing down, trying to get themselves into an orbit around Kerbin. And they're coming down pretty low. We came in at about 29.5 kilometers above the surface there. It worked pretty well. We're coming back out now. And this is their first sunrise over Kerbin that Shepin, Obzer, and Bilgan have seen in a long time. So they came in on quite an eccentric orbit and a inclined orbit. So we need to do a little bit of jiggery-pokery to get ourselves back into an equatorial orbit, which we do. It takes a bit of time, but we do it. Because this ship is actually coming into dock with the space station that we've got in orbit called the Mile High Club. Here we are circularizing our orbit and getting us into a position where we can approach the Mile High Club. And I'm just checking my inclination. It's pretty close, and I'm just doing some adjustments there to match the inclination as close as I can. When you've matched the inclinations of orbits, it's basically a case as long as the orbits cross, at some point you're going to meet something else in the same orbit. So here we have the Fargana out now, matching the inclination with the space station. Checking the inclination, all looking good. And now we're going to set up a quick maneuver to get us close approach. And I've got to set it up so that it's coming in several orbits, which is a great thing about the maneuver nodes that the game didn't used to have. You can set up a maneuver node and then skip forward in several orbits. And here we are approaching the Mile High Club with a capital L in the club. It's because I can't type. I don't talk good neither. But I dock pretty well, as you can see here. This the Fargana out slowly comes in and lightly plants a kiss on the docking port of the Mile High Club. So these guys are home. Now, next thing. The Setanta is coming in, and it's coming in hot as well. We've got to go low again. This one had to go, as far as I recall, a little bit lower, about 29, 28, a little bit lower, just over 29 meters. There was a little bit of trial and error and quick loading and quick saving and what have you in these. I'm not going to lie. But we got in, and we got into orbit, and here it is, beautiful, going through the atmosphere. We've got the ionized air, the re-entry effects, it's fantastic. Again, we get another sunrise. As we get into orbit, the camera flipped there. And so the Setanta has returned from its disastrous Julian mission. These boys are back. We're going to get them to also dock with the space station. First of all, we need to adjust orbits, do all the orbital shenanigans that we always have to do, burning to match orbits with the space station, and what have you. So the Setanta approaches the Mile High Club, where we slow down to match our orbits, and to get a close approach, we're about almost 3 kilometers away there. This is sped up a little bit more because the Setanta turns so slowly that I had to do a lot of work to get this close. A lot of toing and froing to get it close. I really should have got my initial rendezvous much closer than 3 kilometers. I probably could have gotten it as close as maybe half a kilometer. But anyway, we get it in close and very slowly, very carefully bring it into dock with the nose of the Setanta. And why the hell didn't I do that out in Joule? It would been so much easier when I was docking with the refueler. Anyway, what have we got here? This is our ship that's going to bring everybody home. Bob Kerbin is flying up to the Mile High Club, where the boys are on the space station, checking every cupboard for snacks and maybe clean underwear. But Bob is coming up, and he's going to bring these heroes home. This is a very, very simple rocket. It's just got one of those big, huge NASA engines on the back. It's got one launch stage, which we will drop pretty soon. And we've got a small poodle engine to maneuver around in orbit. It's got very little fuel once we drop the launch stage, but we don't need very much fuel. And here we are rising up to our apoapsis. We're going to circularize our orbit, and we're going to bring this thing around to rendezvous with the Mile High Club. So there's Bob now doing the orbital burn. And now we're in orbit. Excellent. So we don't need the launch stage anymore, so Bob drops it. We've already got our maneuver node set up to rendezvous with the Mile High Club, but that's a couple of orbits away, and we're going to do a quick cut till we start burning for that in just a moment. Here we go. So we are approaching the Mile High Club. Oh, very simple. There we go, 700 meters away. That's what I call a rendezvous. Should have tried that with the Setanta, but the Setanta is huge. So we slowly approach. I wanted to get a nice little shot of us slowly approaching the space station. And I think that looks pretty good. Who knows, maybe that'll be the icon for that episode. I haven't decided yet. Maybe it will. Maybe it won't. I don't know. Just look at the icon. So anyway, we get this ship into dock. Bob expertly piloting it in close. Almost forgetting to open the docking hatch doors, because we never use that covered docking hatch. Because it's a little bit heavier than the normal docking hatch, so I just never use it. Save a couple of meters per second. Delta V. So we've docked, and now it's time for everybody to get out. And we're going to do this real quick. Everybody's got their fresh underwear on, and their pockets filled with snacks for the trip home. And, yeah, high speed, getting everybody in. A little montage, let's say. And of course, Jebediah is the last one to get out of the Setanta. He takes a quick look. He gets back in. And now it's time to bring these boys home. I've got to be careful, because after the last episode, we do not wish to lose any of our crew. We have a lot of heroes here, and we want them to be saved. We want them to be brought home for the next generation of Kerbals, who will have things like large spaceplane parts and proper aerodynamic simulation. But that is sometime in the future. Until then, we burn our engines and start bringing these poor boys home, back to the Space Center. We say goodbye to the Mile High Club and our two spaceships, the Setanta and the Fargone, are now docked with it. Somewhere in orbit is the Expressway to Heck. It's still got some science on it. I forgot to get the science, but that's okay. We'll worry about that another time as we drop our orbital stage and we begin our descent to the planet Kerbin. And while I was coming down, I noticed just below me, at about 35 kilometers above the surface, was a piece of debris, which turned out to be from the Two Landers ship, which is a ship I launched back in episode 18 to attach two landers to the Expressway to Heck. And it is still orbiting Kerbin at 35 kilometers. That is, I find that quite strange. 35 kilometers. Why hasn't it burned up yet? Well, because I haven't got close to it. If I got close to it, it would probably burn up. I wonder what the piece of debris is. It might be the launch stage. It could be anything. I don't know. Well, we'll ponder that another time, because the sun is rising now on Kerbin for our intrepid heroes as they return home. Now, I had planned for these guys to possibly land very close to the KSC, but you know, and I know, my ability to land on target on Kerbin is, shall we say, it's a little bit, it's like a gamble. It's like playing roulette, or it's just never going to happen, is what I'm trying to say. The chances of me landing on target on Kerbin are slim to none. But these boys are coming down. We are now having our re-entry effects as the atmosphere slows us down. The sun is rising. We're coming down on a beautiful Kerbin morning. Looks like we're going to land somewhere out in the desert. And as we prepare to deploy our chutes, let's deploy them now. We are hoping that we have enough parachutes on this spacecraft to land safely in the desert. I think that we will, myself. We've got plenty, and the ship is sturdy enough, so we're going to be fine. It's not going to tear itself apart as soon as those parachutes deploy, of course. And as we approach the ground, here we are coming into land finally, and we of course land safely on the ground on the desert of Kerbin. That's good. We've gone a long distance, we've come a long way, but we're now safely home. Our boys back home again. Back home to shiny new ribbons on their uniforms, cocktails, drinks, press junkets, parades, ticker tape, everything an astronaut needs, these boys are going to get now that they are finally home. And look at all of those ribbons. What an amazing journey this has been. Well, so that brings us to the end of the Indeterminate Stuff. Let's have a quick look at our astronaut complex. All of our boys are home. All of them safely after such a long voyage. Wait a minute. Isn't Dundert Kerman dead? Wait a second. Isn't Jan Kerman dead? Isn't Dilbury Kerman dead? Wait. Okay. I haven't lost anybody. Okay, so, yeah. So much for dying Kerbals, eh? Well, this is the old gaming geezer. Thank you very much for watching the Indeterminate Stuff. And so until Kerbal Space Program is officially released into the version 1, comes out of testing and into official release, we shall possibly return and play some more Kerbal Space Program and see how we get on with Jebediah, Bill, Bob, and all of the rest. And maybe we'll try and kill Shep and Kerman a few more times. Who knows? Until then, of our elaborate plans, the end. Of everything that stands, the end. No safety or surprise, the end. I'll never look into your eyes again. Good night, farewell, Auf Wiedersehen, adieu.